Welcome to MacStories Unwind, the show that's all about the picks. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hi, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's a good Friday. I was just in the mountains of Tennessee for 2 days, and that's a story for another time, Federico. I have gathered up so many little bits of Americana to talk to you about on MacStories Unplugged sometime. I think it's going to keep us going for a while. I mean, that's our Club MacStories exclusive podcast, which we a lot of times we'll talk about American culture or Italian culture or both. And, you know, that's just what we do.
I didn't even know they had mountains in Tennessee.
They do. It's the Smoky Mountains. The Smoky Mountains.
The Smoky Mountains,
yeah,
okay.
They span between eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina. And we drove about 3.5 hours west of here to Gatlinburg, which is a very small town with a lot of stuff to do, and had a couple of days there for a trip that was related to my wife's work. So we're back now, though, and we're recording MacStories Unwind. And, you know, Federico, speaking of MacStories Unplugged and the club, we are at a very important time of the year for us because
yes,
we're in the process of kicking off the MacStories Selects Awards. And one of those awards is not picked by you and me and Alex. It's picked by readers, and specifically club members. And so what we did earlier today in MacStories Weekly is we had an announcement with a link where people can go and nominate their favorite app of 2022. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, after there's a very short time to vote for this. So if you're a club member, get out there and nominate your favorite app. And on Sunday, midday, noon Eastern U.S. time, I will gather all those up. We'll take the top 5 nominations, and we are going to create a poll, a vote for those top 5 winners that will be voted on by the Club MacStories Plus and Premier members in our Discord. So there'll be an announcement in Discord on Sunday with those top 5 nominations, and everybody can vote from there. And the winner of that will be our MacStories Selects Reader's Choice Award. So we'll have that along with our regular picks and another Lifetime Achievement winner. Last year's Lifetime Achievement winner was PCalc by our friend James Thompson.
That's correct. And we'll have the usual picks, as you mentioned. We'll do the usual categories, and we'll have another Lifetime Achievement Award winner. The one thing I wanted to mention, so with the Reader's Choice Award, we try to include all types of club members. That is why the initial voting is open to all club members. It's a link in MacStories Weekly. Anybody with a regular Club MacStories account at $5 a month or $50 a year can access that Google form and cast their votes. The one thing we ask you is that to keep things fresh and diverse, please do not vote for last year's winner. I believe last year's winner was Craft, I want to say.
That is correct.
That was the Reader's Choice Award winner from last year. So Craft is ineligible, and all votes that go to Craft will be discarded. Same with double voting, right? Because we ask you to enter your club email address. If you vote multiple times, we'll just keep the first vote that you sent us. So multiple votes will be discarded.
Right. Apple apps are off limits too, because you know what? Apple doesn't need any awards. They've got enough awards of their own. So we'll give it to a deserving developer.
Exactly. But anything else is up for grabs. Even if it's an app that won another type of award on MacStories Selects last year, like did it win Best Design last year? It can win Reader's Choice in 2022. The only thing we ask you, no Apple apps, no double votes, and no Craft. Because Craft was the Reader's Choice Award winner from 2021, and we are trying to determine a new one for 2022. So the votes are open, and you can find the link in MacStories Weekly.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, it doesn't have to be an app that came out this year. This is really just for your favorite app. What's the reader's choice, whether it came out this year, last year, or whenever. And of course, if you're not a club member and you'd like to check out what we have in terms of the various club tiers and to get in on this voting, visit plus.club. That's where you can learn more about what all of the different club memberships involve. All right, Federico, I think we're going to do a first look joint pick today for, surprise, surprise, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And so before we get into the game itself, I guess we should let everybody know which version we purchased and maybe, I don't know, who our starter Pokemon are. I don't know. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I think we should start right there. I went with Scarlet, and I choose Fuecoco as my starter Pokemon. So
Guess
the
what?
fire, you went with Scarlet and Fuecoco as well.
Yes, I did. And I had no idea. This is the first
Okay.
time hearing this about your picks. So we did not coordinate this.
Yeah, perfect. Well, so I felt like, I don't know if you saw anything, John, but I dipped in and out of the leaks leading up to the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, just because I wanted to get a sense of what to expect in terms of exclusives. Now, I'm not going to be talking about those features and those changes today. This is a first impressions episode. We're probably going to follow up next week or in 2 weeks. We'll see about that with a proper review of the game, I guess, once we've had the time to dig into the story and all the multiple storylines that there are in the game. But I checked out some of the leaks, and based on what I saw, some data mines came out last week from people that were digging into the file of the game. And so I saw what was exclusive to Scarlet, what was exclusive to Violet, and I picked Scarlet. And then, also, I should say, I purchased the physical double pack. So I own physical copies of Scarlet and Violet. And reminder, if you buy a physical copy, you will need to apply the day one patch of version 1.0.1 of the game, which I don't know how many gigabytes is it, but yeah, I needed to download that yesterday before I started playing the game. I was able to start it just a day earlier on Thursday. And I went with Fuecoco because it was so cute. I mean, it was so goofy and silly.
That's why I went with him too.
And the way he looks at you and how he burns the apple that he's trying to eat, I thought that was super cute and silly. And I should also say I saw all the final evolutions for the starter Pokemon. And the Fuecoco line was the one that captured me the most. Although I was also very intrigued by Quaxley, the duck Pokemon with the good hair. Yeah,
he's very into his hair. Yeah, I haven't looked at any of the leaks at all. So for me, I just went with Scarlet because I guess I like red, and I was looking at one's kind of futuristic. Violet is kind of futuristic, and Scarlet's kind of retro, I guess, and that I don't know, that appealed to me more for some reason. And Fuecoco too. I agree with you. I think he was the most charming of the starters, so I went with Fuecoco.
And also, I should say that I'm playing on my Nintendo Switch OLED, and I'm alternating between portable play and TV play. In docked mode. I think I'm playing in docked mode because I really like playing at night on my new big fancy couch. So that's very comfortable as a thing to do.
I haven't done docked yet. I've only played handheld so far.
Well, and that's the other thing I think we should mention up front. You probably have seen a lot of reviews and a lot of tweets and opinions about the game's poor performance, graphically speaking, and just from a performance standpoint. And I want to address this up front because I think it's objectively true that these games have some serious performance issues. That is absolutely the case. And it bums me out to confirm this and to say this. But in many ways, I do believe that these games in the open areas, now these are open world games, much more open worldy than Pokemon Sword and Shield, but I truly believe that in the open areas of the map, they potentially look even worse than Pokemon Sword and Shield. They are rough. The character models for the characters and the Pokemon, they look fantastic. I really like the character models. The UI is different from Pokemon Sword and Shield. It takes some adjusting. I don't have a full opinion about the user interface yet, but the 3D graphics in the open areas, man, they are rough. You have all sorts, and I've been taking screenshots that I will tweet eventually, I guess. But you have all sorts of clipping issues, like sometimes like the terrain disappears and it's like your Pokemon are floating on empty space. Sometimes off in the distance, and not even that distance, actually, like you see a character moving, just walking, like an NPC walking, and they are moving at like 3 FPS. It looks like a stop motion animation. Like that happened to me just a couple of hours ago, and I thought that was hilarious. You have all sorts of slowdowns. Like the game does not stay at a stable 30 FPS. I mean, let alone 60 FPS.
Yeah.
There are continuous slowdowns and choppy animations where the game's engine just drops. I think it actually drops well below the 20s. And you can absolutely tell that the game is stuttering.
It's a little glitchy. It's glitchy too, because even in the house, when you start at the very beginning of the game, I got too close to the wall, and I was then
and the camera got
the camera around, and and then it was like all of a sudden everything was black basically because the camera was behind the wall or something. It was really, you shouldn't have that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, one of the things, I guess one of the UI things that I noticed right away in this game is how limited the camera rotation is, which I find a little frustrating at times. Like you can look around with the right thumbstick a fair amount, but it really, you are being guided. I mean, you don't have full like 360 degree control over that camera always.
Yeah, that is true. It's unfortunate that all of this shipped, and I don't know if the problem is the tight deadline that the Pokemon Company imposes on Game Freaks for making a brand new open world massive main Pokemon game in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the problem. I don't know if the problem is the underlying engine that Game Freak is using. I think they've shown that they were capable of better graphics and performance with. And I mean, that they were not excellent games, mind you. Like Pokemon Sword and Shield and Legends Arceus were not like the top of the line of graphical performance, right?
No, but Arceus was pretty nice considering it for a Pokemon game.
Arceus is pretty nice, exactly. That's what bums me out. Like that line for a Pokemon game. Like I think we've set such a low bar in terms of what we can expect from these games that it really saddens me. But when it comes to this degree of glitchiness and performance issues, it's really strange for a Nintendo game, for the top of the line. Like this is the Nintendo game for the holiday season, and it doesn't take an expert in video games to notice, why is this game so choppy? Why is the camera stuck? Why did the ground disappear? Like all kinds of people are going to notice that. And it's very unusual for a Nintendo game like this.
I wonder if there's a patch that they could do to make this a little bit better. I mean, I suppose they can fine tune it over time, but
I hope so.
I don't know. We'll see, I guess. We'll have to see.
Anyway, so the game itself, I mean, it starts out, and it's already a pretty different setup from previous Pokemon games, right? Usually you are this kid who moved with his or her mom to a new town in a new region of the Pokemon universe, and essentially as a kid, you are sent off on your own to catch Pokemon and fill the Pokédex for a professor. More or less, that's always been the story of mainline Pokemon games. It's different here. And I think it will continue to be different. And according to what I saw in the reviews, it'll get genuinely weird by the ending, which I'm really looking forward to. The premise here is that you enroll in this academy in Pokemon Scarlet. It's the Naranja Academy, Naranja meaning orange in Spanish, I believe. And that's one of the main differences here. While the region of Galar from Pokemon Sword and Shield was loosely inspired by the UK, Paldea, the new region, is loosely inspired by Spain, Portugal, maybe for some things Mexico. But anyway, that's sort of the word of Spain and Portugal for sure. You got those architectural elements and the sea setting and all of that. And I mean, some of the characters use expressions like vamos, and there's a place called Los Platos. Like you have all those Spanish references. And so you enroll in this academy, and as part of this academy, you will be able to attend courses, and you will be able to choose one of the main three story paths in this game. One is the classic, you gotta collect gym badges and eventually fight the Elite Four. Another is all about research and researching these Titan Pokemon. There are giant Pokemon that are kind of scary and dangerous. And another is about fighting like this gang of bullies that are like the Team Rocket of this game, basically. I have not yet reached the main town where the academy is located. I believe the town, which I am walking toward to. I just needed to pause the game. It's called Mesagotza, but I still haven't reached the town. So the setting is different. You meet this professor and you meet your neighbor that also is your best friend, and I gotta assume eventually your rival in the main story, Nemona, for me.
Same here.
And immediately you can tell that many elements of Legends Arceus have inspired Scarlet and Violet, right? And it's not just the open world nature of it, meaning you have this sprawling map with all sorts of new indicators. There's a ton of changes around the classic Pokemon structure. You can still battle Pokemon and trainers, one-on-one. You can still decide to do like a classic encounter. But the random encounters are gone. Now, all the Pokemon you see them in the overworld. You see all Pokemon walking around. And you can see that they have different sizes, even for the same species, which is another change adopted from Legends Arceus. The same Pokemon can be smaller or bigger. The big change is that you can have your leading Pokemon in your team follow you around, so you can get them out of their Pokeball and have them follow you around. But there's also a feature called Let's Go, not to be confused with the other Pokemon game from a few years ago. This is the Let's Go feature, where basically you can have your Pokemon do stuff for you, including fighting against wild Pokemon, or pick up items, or check out stuff automatically. You just press the R shoulder button, and your Pokemon, you can say, let's go and do that. And you don't have to enter the full-on, like, standalone battle UI. I guess the downside is because of this, it's like an auto battle system, right? It's like an auto battle mechanic.
Basically.
It's streamlined, but in return, you get less experience points, right? Yeah, because I thought that was like, I was checking out the numbers. And if you do the full encounter, you get more experience points. If you do the Let's Go encounter, you get like a lessened experience share. Experience share is on by default, like in Legends Arceus, like in Pokemon Sword. And overall...
Let me ask you something, Federico, because I am not quite as far along as you are. And I did notice that one of the things that is new, too, is that potions and other things can be applied automatically to heal your Pokemon. How does that work how does that work in the context of one of these Let's Go type of things? Is it your Pokemon are going around and battling on their own, and then to the extent you've got potions and other things to heal them, that they're just applied automatically? How do you keep track of that if it's all happening kind of automatically in the background?
So I think the auto heal, based on what I've seen so far, what I've done so far, I may be wrong. But the auto heal, it just means that when you open your menu by pressing X, you can select one of your Pokemon and you press the minus button, and it auto heals the Pokemon for you, starting with potions and then super potions and then hyper potions and so forth.
Yeah, it's got a whole hierarchy.
It's got the whole hierarchy based on what's in your inventory, without you manually having to say, open menu, go to the bag, go to the potions, select a potion, apply the potion to the Pokemon. You just select the Pokemon that needs to be healed and you press minus and it does the auto heal. I don't know. I don't think they can auto heal themselves when Let's Go is active. But also I haven't tried it. Like, what happens if during Let's Go you open the menu and you select the minus button? Maybe that works. Again, we'll follow up on this in the next episode, I guess. I don't know if you noticed, John, that a lot of things have been streamlined in terms, and again, probably inspired by Legends Arceus. Obviously, you can access your boxes from anywhere. That's been the case for a while. used to be back in my day. Now, I sound like that guy. Back in my day, you needed to go to a Pokemon Center if you wanted to access your PC, and your PC had your boxes where you could store your Pokemon. Now everything is streamlined. You can send Pokemon to a box as soon as after catching it, and you can access your boxes from anywhere. There's just many things that I appreciate already, despite the performance issues, which is, I guess, my takeaway from this first impressions episode, that despite the many graphical problems, the core of the game itself is already pretty fun 3 hours in. And I haven't seen, like, the full map has not even opened up to me yet. But I can immediately tell, like, oh, it's nice how when you're done with the wild encounter, you immediately go back to exploring. Like, there's less back and forth between loading screens in the overworld. And like, you get more things are shown to you as pop-up messages instead of dialogues that you need to dismiss. Like, they are like notifications, basically. The Rotom phone, which is like the device that has your Pokédex and your map and all your other communication things, is actually very cool. And I especially like the map, how you can have multiple indicators, how you can use the map and the Pokédex to check out the habitat of a Pokemon, how you can highlight your indicator on the map, and then you can use the right stick to rotate the map. And as you do that, the camera rotates as well, which is a fantastic way to like find your waypoint or find where you are in the map and what you're looking at the moment. That's really nice. And I will probably follow up on whether I like or not the new, you probably have not seen this yet, John, because I think you still have not reached the first Pokemon Center. But there's a new system for teaching moves to a Pokemon using the TMs, the technical machines. Used to be that you used to find, in Pokemon Sword and Shield, you could find TMs which had repeated uses and TRs, the technical records, which were limited. And some moves were TMs, other moves were TRs. It seems like in Scarlet and Violet, you have TMs only, but they are consumable. They are consumable TMs. So like the move, I don't know, Flamethrower, you can have 1, 2, 3 of them. And each time you teach it to a Pokemon, it depletes from your inventory. But you gotta craft the TMs. And there's a machine that crafts TMs for you. And to craft them, you have to use a new currency called LPs, League Points, which are separate from money, from the game's currency. They are points, and you gain points by fighting Pokemon and doing other things. But you also need to use crafting materials. And you accumulate crafting materials by just catching Pokemon, fighting Pokemon, and exploring the world. So basically, they added a crafting layer to Pokemon, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it seems pretty streamlined so far, but I want to play more and see if I like it or not.
Yeah, I do too. But I think the streamlining is the right way to go, just because one of the things I think, if there's any turnoff to people starting Pokemon for the first time, any of the games really, is how regimented and inflexible it can be, at least at times historically. And I think that someone coming from a more modern open world game is going to expect something more like this. And so this makes it a lot easier for people to get into. And what I've seen of it so far, I like, although like you said, we're not very far into it yet, and I'm even further behind than you are. So maybe in a week or two we can touch base again and see if we're still enjoying it as much as we are. But I like how the game just drops you immediately into the story here and gets you going pretty quickly without a lot of setup and all that
hand holding and setup and I agree.
Exactly.
All right, but that's it for now from me, and we'll I need to play some more to see, because I haven't really seen all the new fighting mechanics, all the new terrestrializing mechanic for battles. Like there's a lot to unwrap here, but I need more time.
Yep, same. All right, Federico. Well, that's a good place to stop. You can find the two of us over at MacStories.net. Federico is on Twitter and Instagram, where he is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.